Denver's mayor tells people to stay home for Thanksgiving, then gets on a plane to go see his family. It was all gravy till Marshall Zellinger found out. I'll have a word about the mayor's stunning hypocrisy, an insult to everyone who is sacrificing this Thanksgiving. New COVID numbers suggest while the worst is yet to come, our actions are making an impact to slow the pandemic. Colorado's restaurants are lessons in resilience and toughness, showing us how they'll survive a second sort of shutdown. And what do you say we pick another food bank that's struggling to keep up and we fill it? You and me together, we can do it tonight, because this is next. Denver Mayor Michael Hancock gave you the bird for Thanksgiving, told you to stay home for the holiday during the pandemic, but then he got on a plane to go see his family out of state. His hypocrisy might not have become national news today, except someone tipped off our Marshall Zellinger that the mayor was ignoring the guidelines that he set for the public.
Thanksgiving is now less than a week away.
Denver Mayor Michael Hancock is not home for the holidays. A tip led us to find out he flew out of DIA this morning to Houston. His office confirms his final destination was Mississippi to spend Thanksgiving with his wife and daughter at his daughter's home. Oh, here's the mayor on Friday.
I'm asking, I'm urging, I'm pleading with everyone. Please stay home.
In that COVID-19 response update, he talked about not having a 50-person family and friends Thanksgiving like he normally does.
We're going to be doing a Zoom so that we can at least see each other on Thanksgiving.
What he failed to say was that Zoom would be happening in Mississippi, where his daughter recently took a new job. 1 week ago, the mayor sent this email to city employees. The second line reads, "As the holidays approach, we all long to be with our families in person, but with the continued rise in cases, I'm urging you to refrain from travel this Thanksgiving holiday." His flight to Houston was scheduled to leave Denver at 9:20 a.m. 37 minutes before that, this tweet was sent from his official mayor's account. Pass the potatoes, not the COVID. Avoid travel if you can. Though the image also says what to do if you can't avoid travel. Here's the mayor 1 week ago.
Stay at home as much as possible. Put those social gatherings on hold for the time being, including extra care for Thanksgiving.
We asked to talk to the mayor about this after he landed in Houston, but an interview was not arranged. You were both at a news conference last week encouraging people to alter their Thanksgiving plans and caution about travel. This afternoon, I asked Governor Jared Polis if he knew Hancock was leaving town, particularly after sharing the podium to announce new COVID restrictions last week, and if he could share that stage again after the mayor's travel today.
So no, I've not had any conversations with the mayor about his Thanksgiving plans and was not aware of them.
He did not address the question about having the mayor join him to promote COVID guidance in the future.
I look forward to having a small family get together with our 4 members of our family and our dog Gia. And that's because we care deeply about our extended family. And I haven't seen my parents in 9 months, and that's very hard.
Late this afternoon, the mayor provided this statement, ending with, "I made my decision as a husband and father, and for those who are angry and disappointed, I humbly ask you to forgive decisions that are born of my heart and not my head." I reached out to the city to talk to the directors of all of the departments that the mayor has either appointed or the directors that are part of his cabinet to find out if they're doing as he says or following his lead. So far, one person I found, the city attorney, has also left town. So far, everyone else is still here. Kyle, when I woke up this morning and we see this tip, my first thought is, there's no way. And you make that call and you try to confirm information, and here we are now.
The layers of this. I mean, there's the mayor's obvious arrogance and the hypocrisy. There's the betrayal of everybody who is sacrificing this Thanksgiving. Then there's the real public health impact, because is he going to stand up there next to Governor Polis again while they're going to ask people to follow rules? I mean, the first question from you or any other reporter is going to be, do you plan on following them this time?
And the governor had 2 chances to answer that, my question, and a Fox 31 reporter followed up with it. And he stuck with, I didn't know that the mayor was leaving, and then pivoted to what he's doing for his own family. And maybe that's a backdoor way of telling the mayor what he thinks, but he didn't explicitly say it, as he has said it to restaurant owners that perhaps want to defy also.
Yeah, yesterday the governor calls business owners who are pushing back against health guidelines bad actors. He called people who weren't wearing masks selfish bastards, but not a crossword for the mayor. Marshall, thank you. Mayor Hancock's social media post telling us to avoid travel for Thanksgiving just minutes before he boarded a plane to go see his family. That should be the last time Coloradans hear any public health guidance from Michael Hancock. The next pandemic briefing needs to come from a city leader who actually follows the advice that the city gives the public. The mayor's decision to ignore his own public health guidelines cripples confidence in our shared sacrifices just at the time when the pandemic in Colorado is at its worst. So on Thanksgiving, as the mayor sits down to a meal with his family out of state, back here in his city, a healthcare worker will sit down to rest his feet after a 12-hour shift. A business owner will sit down to figure out how she can keep her employees on the payroll through the holidays. An older woman will sit down to eat Thanksgiving dinner alone because she and her family chose to take the mayor's advice. We have all wanted to do what the mayor did. Jump on a plane and go somewhere. Hug somebody we love. Hand a new baby to a grandparent. We didn't because epidemiologists and scientists and elected officials begged us not to yet. They asked us to summon all of our strength just to hold on and to not do what Mayor Hancock did. None of this is easy. The mayor's job is not easy, but these times require leadership. And if the mayor doesn't want to lead, then he shouldn't. There are 1,652 Coloradans in the hospital with COVID-19 today. That is up 39 patients from yesterday. We are setting a new record on this every day, but at least the rate of increase is slowing. Our positivity rate yesterday was 10.8%. Our 7-day average is starting to trend downward, now at 11.4%. That is also encouraging news, but we're a long way from in the clear. Colorado added 3,500 new cases yesterday. That makes our 7-day average on new cases trending downward to just under 4,500 a day, and we are seeing roughly 25 to 30 COVID deaths a day. Longmont Mayor Brian Bagley is now abandoning his idea to withhold hospital beds from Weld County residents because Republican commissioners there are ignoring health guidelines. You heard the hospitals tell us here yesterday the mayor's idea wasn't going to happen anyway. Colorado's restaurants, they are still scarred from the spring shutdown, but they are tougher now too. They got this carry-out game down, and they told our Steve Steger how the lessons learned will help them survive.
People like comfort food. You know, they want something that they're not going to make at home. So fried chicken wings, for example.
That's one of the reasons Fire on the Mountain owner Andrea West says her team is surviving a second round of restrictions. But it also helped that they had some practice during the spring.
We figured out a lot of the systems, right? It's like packaging and all of our systems, kind of the basics of it all.
Fire on the Mountain kept staff on board by using them as delivery drivers. And West says the computers have adapted too.
The technology's come a long ways. A lot of the point of sale systems that restaurants use have really developed a pretty cool suite of tools for doing the takeout and delivery.
At Levin Deli, owner Anthony Leguizos says the earlier lockdown made them think harder about their menu.
One of the lessons that we learned in March was that relevance is a huge key driver for us.
In the beginning of the pandemic, they made comfort food. Then, as people started to get bored with restrictions, they got adventurous. Now that people are tired and time crunched,
we're rolling out food that can be reheated in a really good, really convenient and efficient and consistent way.
Also, Anthony says educating people about the fees associated with the third-party delivery apps like DoorDash and Grubhub has helped.
A lot of the third-party delivery services are incorporating that into their model, and it's become a lot more affordable for restaurants.
Both Anthony and Andrea say, unfortunate as it is, this pandemic does have a silver lining.
It's made us all be way more creative and evolve in ways that we did not see coming.
There's something to be learned along every step of this journey.
For Next, I'm Steve Steger.
The restaurants we talk to are also really focused these days on employee morale, whether it's something as simple as the music that they play while people are working, or at Levin they installed a mini putt course and they've got a competition there every night. Douglas County today is asking for a bit of slack from the state while that county is under level red restrictions. They're asking for something similar to the deal that Mesa County has, where businesses can get inspected to show that they're being super safe, and if they pass, they get lighter restrictions, like they're allowed to have indoor dining. Here's the thing, though. Dougco's Republican commissioners say if they do not hear from the Democratic governor on this by next Friday, they're just going to do it anyway. And their own health department today said they just found out about this concept and do not have the resources to do the inspections. I hope that as you sit down to your Thanksgiving dinner this week, that you take a moment to think about all that you have accomplished this year to alleviate hunger in our state. You've raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for food banks from Denver to the San Luis Valley, $5 at a time, through our Word of Thanks microgiving campaign. So let's do it again tonight as part of our 9 Cares Colorado Shares annual food drive. Because the word of thanks that comes to mind when I think of Secor Cares is hidden. That nonprofit fights the hidden poverty in the metro area's suburbs. These are places where you might not imagine that there are families going hungry, but they are there. The roots of Secor Cares go back to the 1990s in Parker, and they have a strong focus now on providing free groceries to families in Douglas, Arapahoe, and Elbert counties. There are hungry families in Denver suburbs right now. This morning, Secor Cares opened up its food distribution site, and they ran out of fresh food in 2 hours. That's how intense the demand was. Since the start of the pandemic, they tell me they have seen their need quadruple. If you text the word thanks to 303-871-1491, I will send you that link to donate, or you can just search online for Next Word of Thanks. So pull it right up. And like every week, I will match the first 50 donations of $5. So you've refilled food banks in the city, in rural Colorado. Now it's our chance to help our neighbors in the suburbs who find themselves struggling with hunger this holiday season. And thank you again for being part of this force for good in our community. A critical piece of information is missing as Colorado tries to get mental health help to those who need it. And let's talk about a mayor who didn't ignore public health guidelines. He suited up and went right into the worst of it to better understand the fight. Next. We spent a lot of time talking about mental health help during the pandemic, yet the state faces a lack of data, hard numbers on who needs help and is not getting it, especially in Colorado's communities of color. Here's a new
horrifying story of a mom who lost her daughter to suicide and who just sort of had to start over with every provider.
In under 10 seconds, we just explained as clearly as possible what is at stake here.
Because right now it is kind of complicated. And if it's too complicated, people won't get help. They won't ask for help.
There is good work happening in Colorado, but not everyone is communicating.
It's the issue of not having the data, of knowing what the exact gaps are. And we're not systemically working together. And when we do that, we have an incomplete picture of the behavioral health services we're providing.
This goes for our marginalized communities, minority communities, lower income communities.
We have to be humble enough to ask for help.
The state is working with different groups across Colorado, so we decided to do the same to better understand some of the obstacles in accessing health care.
I don't believe there has been enough outreach.
Dee Dee Brown works out of Colorado Springs and is a part of a group called the Therapists of Color Collaborative.
Actually put clinicians in the room with you where the therapist looks like you.
There were just 12 healthcare professionals when the group started 2 years ago. Now their numbers have doubled, with 30 working across the state.
I think really the biggest thing is the stigma surrounding mental health. A lot of people do not want to be diagnosed. They don't believe that therapy is effective. Historically, for people of color, I don't believe that it has been because of the level of treatment that they were receiving. Majority of the population that's underserved is going to be on Medicaid. And a lot of clinicians that I know are not credentialed through Medicaid, and it's very difficult to be credentialed through Medicaid.
Now the state is working to streamline care by creating a statewide behavioral health administration. It's also working with community groups to raise awareness about resources and diversifying the workforce, which includes addressing pay for behavioral health specialists. For Next, I'm Anusha Roy.
This story wraps up our month-long Disparity in Colorado project. You can see all of our stories on the gaps that exist in Colorado, from education to healthcare. They're all on 9news.com in the Voices of Change section. Some local researchers have new advice on where we should have Thanksgiving dinner tomorrow. Some perspective on Poppin' Droplets next.
sunshine today, cool temperatures in the 40s, but a lot of snow melt. Roads, sidewalks looking good out there, and temperatures will continue to slide into the 30s as we move through the 8, 9, and 10 o'clock hours tonight. We've got another weather system approaching from the north. That's the one that brought the snow to us yesterday. Loved it. And there are no advisories for wind or snow, even though we have a little bit of moisture coming in with that front tomorrow. Might translate to an isolated mountain or foothill snow shower, but in Denver, calm and quiet. Fair Sky and 25 tonight for Thanksgiving. Happy holidays. Sunny and 45. An isolated foothill snow shower, and that's it for the rest of the week. Temperatures a bit of a roller coaster, but a nice extended forecast. Enjoy.
Colorado's public health experts are strongly suggesting we just have Thanksgiving with our own household tomorrow. And the idea is to keep us swapping droplets with only the people we already swap droplets with. Researchers at the University of Denver are out with a new study on what happens at a larger multi-household dinner. And 10 people, 2-hour meal, infection rate was 2.5%. The flying droplets gave everybody a 5 to 15% chance of getting infected. Obviously varies by the size of the room, how long people are there. What they suggested was the risk drops almost to zero if you take it outside. Want to tell you about what Colorado Springs' mayor was up to today, not getting on a plane to fly out of town. Mayor John Suthers instead went right to the COVID unit at UC Health Memorial Hospital today. He said that it was startling to see people there on ventilators, and he thanked the hospital staff working hard to save lives. His social media post ended with a plea for people to be as safe as possible this Thanksgiving. And as far as we know, that mayor has not since gotten on a plane. Your feedback's next. Hunger and poverty in our suburbs. It's a real issue that we don't talk about very often. Tonight, we're not just going to talk about it, we're going to do something about it. If you text the word thanks to 303-871-1491, I'll send you the link to join me in giving to Secor Cares. They provide free groceries to families in Arapahoe, Douglas, and Elbert counties. Their need has quadrupled during the pandemic. Just this morning, they ran out of fresh food 2 hours after they opened. So let's get them stocked back up for the holidays. D writes in that he skipped a Thanksgiving trip down to see his mother in Trinidad due to her health. He said, as much as it's a personal choice, it's also a way to support our local leaders. Needless to say, Mayor Hancock has lost my support, mainly because we lost his. Jayla says it's not about going to visit his daughter that people are upset about. It's that he's telling people to not. But he's not doing what he said to do. That's the frustration people are having. I think that's it, Jayla. There's a lot of leaders out there who are just saying, yeehaw, do whatever you want. You know, don't worry about the Rona. That's not what the mayor said. The mayor asked us to do one thing. He decided to do another. Chuck writes in about the mayor's apology, basically the pity party about how he'd have to spend Thanksgiving alone. Chuck said, we'd love to hug our grandkids. We're staying home. There are worse things than Thanksgiving alone. I'll see you next time. Happy Thanksgiving.